Hi, welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Podcast. I'm Christopher,
And I'm Charles.
and today we are doing our write-in films where we each choose one good movie and one bad movie that we feel should have fit on the list between the numbers 50 and 41.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting
So
stuff.
it's kind of fun because we get to actually, IMDb is pretty user-based kind of thing, but it's kind of fun to get to throw our own stuff in there too. So, uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick.
yeah, go ahead, go
There's two main developments here that I'd like to mention.
ahead. Okay.
One, this is our first podcast where we're not actually together because Topher moved away. So he's in Atlanta, Atlanta area, I guess. Are you actually in Atlanta or
I'm not in Atlanta proper, no,
no?
no.
Okay, but around there, right?
I'm in the same, yeah, I'm in the area.
So we
Yeah,
got our Fort Worth and Atlanta thing going on. And then also he got engaged.
I
So
did.
that's a big
Did.
deal. That's huge.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, no, it's good.
you're not gonna be married for a while though, right? It's not for a little over a year, right?
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, about
So
a year.
at the rate we're going, that'll
We
probably be
should
the
have
thing that
another podcast
podcast.
or
Yeah,
two. Yeah,
exactly.
at
No, no,
one
not two. Don't push it.
too.
So
So, but
I
yeah,
just want
no,
to say,
it's fun.
congratulations, man. That's all I'm
Well, I
saying out there.
appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we're excited. We're really excited. So
Okay.
let's what do you okay, so let's talk about our picks. So for good movie, what'd you go for?
Well, if you recall, a year ago when we did our last episode, hasn't been that long. Um, I picked for the good movie. I picked Shattered Glass, and I picked Birdemic for the bad movie.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, and I picked Heat
okay,
and I picked The Room. For the bad movie.
yeah,
Heat for the good, The Room for the bad, right? Which
yeah.
hopefully that was obvious. Um,
Well, mine
so
wasn't. I mean, mine's not so obvious.
no, it's obvious once you watch the movies. Believe me, there's no question as to which one's the bad one. Okay, so let's dive right in, I guess. Let's
Let's
so
start
so
with
Heat.
yours. Yeah.
Heat. Yeah, so we'll start with Heat. I'm going to go ahead and read a little blurb here from IMDb.
Okay.
Um, a group of professional.
We're still not trying to get sponsored by IMDb, by the
No,
way.
not even
Not at all.
remotely trying to get. Not no no.
IMDb.com. All your sources
Check it
for
out.
movies and
Absolutely. Movies, news, entertainment news, etc.
the best in the world.
Um, their little blurb is a group of professional bank robbers start to feel the heat from police when they unknowingly leave a clue at their latest heist.
That's a
That's
horrible
probably the
description.
worst description of heat ever. Yeah, that's terrible. But that's what's there, so we're gonna go with it. Um, I think there's a lot of problems with that description, but because really what makes this movie so great is it's not just a bank heist movie. It's not just a movie about bank robbers. I mean,
Yeah,
clearly they're
I
the
got a
main.
question.
Yeah.
You remember when Michael Mann used to make good movies?
Yeah. What happened to that, right? Yeah, I know. Let's not critique Michael Mann too much, okay? He has made some really great movies, and he did kind of stray away from it. But I think even though it was The Insider that got nominated for Best Picture that he did,
Hmm.
I still think this is his best movie. I whether it's
What would you say his last great movie was?
gosh, I'm trying to think past Public Enemies because I really didn't like that one.
Has he made one since Public Enemies?
No, I'm trying to think like what was the one he did right before that?
Well, he did. Well, Collateral is somewhere in there.
Yeah, Collateral's a good movie. I like Collateral a lot actually. Oh, I actually, and I'm the guy who likes Miami Vice, right? Like I really enjoy Miami Vice. I know, but
Series, yes. The show, the movie,
I
not so
like the
much.
I like the movie. I think it's a pretty movie. I think it's a really well. I think it is well executed. I think there are flaws in what it's just it could have been a better movie. But either way, we're talking about Heat. We're not talking about all that. I
Yeah.
think Heat is what makes it so good is what's not in that description, right? It's the fact that all these guys are guys, right? They've got wives and girlfriends and kids and stepkids and all this stuff. And they got to deal with all this stuff. And what do you do? And how do I'm trying to be a professional cop or a professional bank robber or whatever, right? And I'm trying to deal with all the normal stuff that everyone else deals with, right? And so he does a good job with that, but then he also shows that these guys are professional, right? Like I mean, there's never a moment when you doubt these guys' proficiency at their jobs.
Both of them,
And
both sides of it. Like
yeah, both sides. Oh yeah, both sides.
I think the scene that makes it, and probably a lot of people would agree, is when they meet up face to face.
The coffee shop.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just because you see that they're really two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Like
It's it
they're both tearing up their lives together.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me chuckle just because it reminds me of that line from Adaptation when he's like, and you explore the concept that cop and criminal are the same person. See every other cop movie for examples of this, and
Yeah.
it is a cliche, but it's a cliche because it works and it's true
Well, yeah, it's a
and
cliche, but in this movie, it's so well executed. It's just
yeah,
really
doesn't feel cliche in
no, it
this
doesn't.
movie.
It feels original.
It
Although,
does.
and a side note, like I usually do you believe the whole thing about that they were never in the same scenes together?
No, they were totally in that coffee shop together. I look, I think Michael Mann is an excellent filmmaker, but I don't think he's that good. That at that point in time he was able to split screen De Niro and Pacino into a booth together. I don't think he's that
They never
good.
show their face in the same shot, not except for one. There's one scene when
There's
he
one wide shot. There's one wide shot in
they're
the
back.
coffee time.
No. Their faces are. It's always the back of somebody. I think
I
it's
thought
just,
there was one profile shot.
there's one shot when he pulls him over, and
Yeah, yeah.
you see an out of focus De Niro in the foreground. It could be someone else.
Why would they do that?
I don't
Okay,
know. So goes the thing of them being divas or something. I don't know. They don't want to deal with each other. I don't know.
I don't know. I
They,
think
they made up for
they
it by
made a new
making that
movie together. Yeah,
Righteous
what is it?
Kill. Yeah, that
Yeah,
fabulous film.
yeah, no, but I mean,
That should
but they
be on
made
our list somewhere.
yeah somewhere. Um,
Awful movie.
but the other thing too to keep in mind is this is the movie that most people until I can't remember. I think a lot of people were considering this to be kind of the pinnacle for realism when it comes to violence on screen,
Yeah.
up until like Saving Private Ryan came out, right? This was it. This is what you measured it against for if you want to know what violence really looks like, that's what you go watch. Like there's that old story about like there's that one shot that they supposedly show, and I don't know for sure, but supposedly they show it at Marine boot camp, is the one shot where Val Kilmer stands up with his rifle and he runs it dry. It's empty, and he quickly drops, and as he does, he reloads and pops back up and keeps firing, and he does it in about 8 seconds flat. And they yell at the new recruits, if that Hollywood actor can do it, you guys can do it.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's something that Michael Mann's great at is he insists that the actors be able to do what their characters can do. And so I have appreciation for that for sure. But the other thing too about this movie is the scope. It's so big, and
Yeah.
every character, even the little minor characters, have huge amount of character. Like you think about, isn't Danny Trejo plays it? He's in there, and
Danny
he's like
Trejo's interesting though, because they barely show him. Like he does not get any. He's there. He's in their group, but they don't even
he's
give him
incredibly
close-ups.
important too.
Yes,
He's
I agree.
incredibly
I agree.
important.
But there was even there was the sequence where De Niro's asking each one of them if they're in or out,
Yeah.
and they don't even show a close up of him or anything. They have a wide shot where he answers. Every other character gets
Yeah,
a close up and time to think about it.
he certainly wasn't like a character that I don't even remember his character's name, to be honest with you.
Trejo.
Is it Trejo?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Well, there you go. Well, but what I'm getting at though is even somebody who's that minor of a character, right? In the movie, they run with, right? Like he's there for everything. They develop. He's got a wife and kids, and the kids are young, and it on and on and on and on and on. I mean, it really, and he's like a pivotal. That's what makes this movie so great. Is all the stuff that happens is based on these little minor characters, right? You get these little bitty minor characters that end up messing everything up for the main characters, and it's just I don't know. It's the chaos of the real world, and that's what makes it feel real, I guess.
Yeah.
But I really love the attention to detail, the scope.
I,
Really, in my
I gotta
opinion,
say
well done.
one thing though. I don't really dig Pacino in it a ton.
I don't know. I think
He's
I've
so over
heard
the
many
top
people. Yeah,
in a
I've
really
heard
weird,
many
cheesy way.
people. Yeah, because he's like yelling and all that stuff. I really think it. I heard a lot of people say that they feel that the movie's great except for the acting, which is odd considering who's in it, right? But I do think that's probably the weakest point of the movie. It's more of a director's film than anything, right? It's
Well, no,
almost
to be fair though, I like everybody else in it. It's Pacino mostly that I think is so over the top. When he
yeah,
comes in and it's just like, are you serious?
yeah,
Like oh my God, there's just clips on the internet you could find and especially take it out of context.
yeah. I do like the fact, and this is the final little tidbit, and we'll move on to the next film. But I like the way that Michael Mann because he made this movie not too long after he made Last of the Mohicans. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I love that film. That was actually filmed kind of near where I'm from, and so that's kind of cool. But the guy who plays the villain, the bad Indian, I guess is the politically incorrect way to say it. But the bad guy, Magua was the character's name, right? Is actually one of the cops in this movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, if you go back and look at his IMDb page, because you'll find everything there. And he's always playing a villain Indian in every movie that he's in, right? He was in Dances with Wolves. He was in this. He's always playing that role. And I thought it was really cool that after working with him and apparently liking him enough to work with him again, Michael Mann let him just put on a suit and play a cop in Los Angeles. Like, you don't have to be in period dress. You don't have to be, speaking broken English. You're an actor. You can come act. I thought that was kind of cool, but I like the way that Michael Mann.
And then we never heard from him again.
Well, I mean, sure, he played another Indian again when Terrence Malick made The New World, but okay. Anyway, but I like that Michael Mann likes actors and he works with actors like that. So
yeah,
anyway.
It's too bad.
Okay.
Too bad he doesn't like cinematography.
Are you kidding me with that? Okay, yeah, I know you've got a beef with digital. I know. But he makes pretty movies. You've got to at least give him that. Public Enemy's notable exception, but I don't think Heat and Miami Vice are beautiful. And I think
Heat is Miami Vice. No.
Oh, I think it's a gorgeous movie.
The TV show looked better.
Oh, that's okay. So, what would you give Heat?
I give it an 8.
Yeah, I would give it a solid 8 because it in my opinion, it's a great film from a film perspective, but from an importance and does it matter kind of thing, not so much.
Well,
right?
okay. And the other thing I wanted to say, which film on the good list would you take off in the 4251 to replace with Heat?
I don't. I think, well, and it depends because, more to my sensibility, if you're just looking for an action film that belongs on the top 50, I would put this ahead of Terminator.
You'd take Terminator off? Or just
I would take Terminator 2 off and put this in its place.
Okay.
And only because I appreciate the drama and the human emotion side that's in Heat that's not in Terminator.
So that's 45 on our list then, is what you'd...
Right, and I don't know that I would put it at that number precisely.
You take that movie? Okay, I got you.
If I had to replace one movie, that's what I'd replace.
Fair enough. I got you.
So that's kind of where I'd go there. But yeah, I think an 8's good because it's not, this isn't Citizen Kane or anything like that, but I think it's a well-made film, definitely, and definitely deserves some notice. So, I listed as my bad film The Room, which we have actually already done a review for.
Yeah.
We did a video review because we actually went and saw it and then immediately did a review there. Which you are more than welcome to go take a look at that, which is definitely if you see it in the theater, and I think most of these kind of campy movies are this way, the experience is what you're going for, not necessarily the quality of filmmaking. So that's why you and I we each gave it a 2 on filmmaking and an 8 on experience because it's fun, right? It's fun to be in a room.
Only if you see it with Tommy Wiseau. I mean, you just have to...
There's something to be said for that, right? But anyway, so if you want to check out The Room, which I would happily put on the list, which, by the way, the one that I would replace on there with that was, wasn't Tangents. Gosh, it's so terrible. Was it And Be Real that was just like, it was just kind of a low budget film? It wasn't like, we were like, I don't even know this is on the bad list kind of thing.
Who was the principal? There was like a famous actor that was the principal.
Yeah. I think that was the film that you and I were both like, I don't know why this is on the bad list.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I would probably put on The Room because The Room, especially after having seen things like Santa Claus, I can't give The Room that much crap because, the Santa Claus is terrible. And we haven't even gotten to your picks yet because I will happily replace any of the ones on that list with that movie.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and move into yours.
Okay.
Your good movie was Shattered Glass.
That's right. Which I don't feel like most people have even heard of this movie.
I don't think they have.
You know how I usually describe it?
How's that?
As the good Hayden Christensen film.
It's paradoxical, doesn't it? I think he made 4 movies, and like 2 of them were Star Wars movies. But which doesn't speak to your quality there. But okay, so I'll go ahead and read the synopsis here.
Okay.
Shattered Glass, the true story of a young journalist who fell from grace when it was found he had fabricated over half of his articles. I think if I had to describe this film, I would say it's All the President's Men light, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of a diet version of All the President's Men. Because it's obviously they're not dealing with like the takedown of a president, right? It's far less
The
important.
what's the Matt Damon movie where he keeps lying all the time to Gwyneth Paltrow and the Talented Miss Ripley? That's what it is.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It reminds me
Yeah,
of that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. That's yeah, because it really like honestly, what makes this movie so great is not watching it; it's watching it again. Because you kind of watch it again and you're starting to wonder like, is anything this guy's saying real?
Right. And that's why
Like,
his performance is
oh,
pretty good in that. I mean, it is. It's like,
he still sounds like a whiny little
but that
kid. That's
fits
my
that guy. I mean, it
It
does.
does. It does, especially if you watch because I actually just watched it on DVD and the special features they have a 60 minutes interview with him and he's exactly like that. Like it's
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 just good casting.
it's good casting. The problem is after you play Anakin, then all anybody's going to see is oh you're the whiny kid and look you're whiny kid again, right? And so it kind of ruins that. But either way,
Yeah, but
I do.
at least it's not Jake Lloyd from episode one. That was another whiny Anakin.
Why is always so upset? No, I really do like this movie, and Sarsgaard actually won a lot of awards for it. Like
Sarsgaard's awesome in it.
he is great as
He
just
make
this
him
like
and Hank Azaria. They both kind of make the movie for me.
yeah, and I think Sarsgaard honestly Sarsgaard is the main character here. He's the conflicted character.
Yeah.
I really don't think Christensen ever felt remorse for anything that he did in this whole thing. He really didn't feel
The
like,
very last shot when they're like, okay, just nod your head. It's like he's finally having to admit he's backed in a corner. He has no choice, and they're
I
like,
think,
Just don't
but I don't
object to
even
it."
right, but I don't even think he's admitting that he did something wrong so much as he's admitting he made it up. There's a difference,
True,
right?
true, but I do love that as far as acting, and
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that bit where it's like he can't say anything. There's no more excuses, no more
Yeah,
lies,
there's no way you can make anything else
and
up.
so it's just he sits there and stares him down, and the tears
Yeah,
coming out. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. When I saw this movie, I saw it in the theater actually. I saw it when I
Me
was in
too.
LA. I remember feeling just really uncomfortable when he's actually taking him out and confronting him, like when
Yeah,
they go out to the restaurant and all the places where he supposedly
yeah,
did all this stuff. And I just remember watching this thinking, this is so painful. Like it's really painful to watch, and you know that he's lying. You
yeah.
know he's lying, but and then the way that they kind of Sarsgaard was such a perfect casting for that too, because he kind of looks like he could be, a little, conniving, kind of a mean
Well, and
boss
yeah, and
guy.
I actually I didn't really know much of the true story of it.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And so I actually really thought that this was going to be a movie about the boss being a jerk to him
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what and all that stuff, and he was going to have to like redeem himself or something. And no, it's like
yeah,
it's like about halfway through the movie, that scene where he confronts him,
yeah,
you're suddenly you're on the side of the boss, you're switching over, and you're like, oh wait, I've been duped too.
yeah, exactly.
The
That's
brilliance of
that's a
it.
good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it because it really did do a good job of you're sucked into as an audience, you're sucked into this lie.
Yeah,
and and you find out right along with the boss, and you kind of got these suspicions, and then you start thinking back to everything, right? You're thinking back to that. Wait a minute, was that story he told true? And so you're doing the same thing the boss does. So it was
right.
a really good. It was good. It really was a very well made film. I mean, I don't know that I would put it as high as this myself, but I think it's excellent. I mean,
You say top
certainly
100?
I wouldn't even go that high. I mean, to me, this is almost like one of those movies that you're like, if it's on, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to go out and find it kind of movies. Like it's good, but it's not great. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it's a quality movie, and I can't really find any major gripes with it, but there's just not anything particularly standout about it.
And you said like Heat was like a director's movie. This is an actor's movie.
Agreed. Yes, for sure.
And I don't know, like, but it is Sarsgaard that just sells it for me.
Yeah, he honest because after this he went on and did like Garden State and all that too. Like
Yeah,
he really kind of started to, but I like the way that he is still selective about roles and stuff. And
yeah,
Hayden Christensen went on to retirement, I guess. I'm not really sure where
yeah.
he went.
Well, they are making new Star Wars movies. That's another development that happened. So,
Thankfully, he's dead by this point.
well, no, he can be brought back as a ghost, like he was in Return of the Jedi.
Oh
Uh,
God. Oh,
uh,
it's so awful. Okay.
it is.
All right. So, what would you give this film on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd probably give it a 7.
I was going to say either a 6 or a 7. 7 feels very high, 6 feels a little low. Because it is definitely better than mediocre. Like it's a well-made movie. I don't
Yeah.
have any major problems with it, and it doesn't ever dip into the cheesy realm, right?
Nope.
There's never a moment where you're just like, oh, this is corny. It feels Hollywood, but yeah, maybe a 7. I'd probably give it somewhere in that range too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I would say this is a pretty easy thing for as far as having to switch out a movie.
hmm
Hands down, Amelie has to go out.
I knew you were gonna say Amelie. It's either gonna be Amelie or Kubrick, one of the
No,
two.
no,
I'm
it's not.
surprised you didn't take Paths of Glory out, to be
No, I
honest.
like Past the Glory. It's Amelie was the zero. Well, I guess Clockwork Orange
Yeah.
was too, so I don't know.
See, this is what I'm saying. You just don't like. Okay, so all right. Well, that's fair, and I can see where you're coming from there. I kind of wavered there, but then I was like, yeah, Terminator. I can't. I mean, it's good, but anyway. Um, okay, so now on to onto your bad film, which you have as Bird,
Birdemic.
which for those of you who don't know anything about Birdemic, you're lucky. This is well, let me read the synopsis first.
Okay.
Birdemic, shock and terror. A
Mm.
platoon of eagles and vultures attacks the residents of a small town. Many people die. It's not known what caused the flying menace to attack. 2 people manage to fight back, but will they survive Birdemic?
Wait, you sound like you're like a news anchor. Like it doesn't even sound.
I don't even know how to read that. Am I supposed to be like a platoon of eagles and vultures? I don't know how to read it. It doesn't matter. That's the
All
synopsis.
this and more at the 6 o'clock news.
And traffic.
Yeah.
But this movie is so bad. It
Yeah.
really like every single thing that you couldn't stand about watching student films when you were at school. This personifies it.
Yes, it
It,
does.
there is between the bad sound because there's atrocious sound. I don't even think they had a microphone. I think they were just kind of like I mean, I don't know, the overdub stuff where they're recording it with like a tape recorder. What were they? I mean, it's terrible sound. And then I mean, because there were points I genuinely couldn't hear them, right?
Yeah.
Like they're on the beach, right? Which you don't go film at the beach, right? Especially if you're not going to record it later, right? It's
Well,
terrible.
but it's like the birds on the beach. Instead of having like a carcass they made, they just CG'd a graphic.
Yeah, the CG.
It didn't even move. There was no point in being CG.
There were so many horrible CG birds, and for some reason, the birds, when hitting the ground, explode. I still don't understand that, but that's what happened.
That's what happens in real life. I've seen that
Birds fly into the ground and they explode
in
into a
the
ball
in
of
the in
fire.
San Mateo, California. They explode
Yeah,
just like that.
sure. And then the other thing was, I should have used a stopwatch. I think half this movie was them
Driving.
just driving and
Yes, in that
driving.
Mustang in the opening, and the stock music just fades. He comes right back up.
And it just, yeah, because it's that royalty free music,
Yeah,
and it's about 8 seconds long, and he just has it like da 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 da. Da, 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 and you're just like, oh my gosh, is this really going to do this for the entire opening credit sequence? Which, by the way, is nothing but the man stuck in traffic. It's literally them sitting in parking lot traffic, and that's the opening credit
it's
sequence.
very French. That's like French New Wave.
that's
That's how Reckless started, right?
It looks like the big Breathless. You mean?
Breathless.
Yeah,
I mean, Reckless. What's Reckless?
I don't know. I think you made it up.
No,
And honestly, at first I was thinking, like, is this a reference to the opening of 8.5? Like maybe because he's stuck in traffic there and he floats away with the balloon. No, it's
Yes.
bad filmmaking. That's all this is.
You did.
But
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I just referenced that. Yeah.
Yes, you
But
did.
but no, it's terrible. The acting is horrible in every possible way. The graphics, I can't even explain it. Like if you can't,
They try to kill the birds with coat hangers. So, okay.
and they do.
First
They
of all,
do.
yes, the CG is bad, but they didn't even know what that's going to look like when they're shooting. They still planned for them to attack them with coat hangers.
Yeah, they're like
Even if you had ILM doing the special effects, it's still going to be coat hangers.
they're sitting in a hotel room. Just for the audience who hasn't seen it, right? They're stuck in a hotel room that is being guarded by birds, right? There's hawks guarding the hotel room, and so they have to run out to a van, and one of the guys is like, "We got to arm ourselves," and so he runs over to the closet in the hotel room and grabs 4 coat hangers, and everyone grabs their coat hangers. Now let's walk out there back to back so that they can't get us from either side. What?
Yeah, exactly.
What? And then he's got this like machine gun in his car, and he's ex-Marine Special Forces, and you're like, what is going on? And then occasionally a bird will literally there's one point when a man tries to steal their gas, and they're stuck. They can't get out of it. A bird just swoops out of nowhere. One lone bird, not a pack of birds. One bird swoops by and slices the man's throat, just dead right there. And it was the worst thing ever.
You know what's idiotic about that, though, was the fact that guy had a gun. And so instead of picking up his gun and the gas, they just travel by.
That's right. That's like the gas they're fighting over. He leaves it and runs away from the one bird that's gone. Yeah, it's just
and it's like a lingering shot. Like I was like, okay, maybe they don't want us to know that, but they linger on it.
Okay, so the way that we saw the room, right? Which the room was terrible, but we're in a room full of people. Pardon the pun there, right? But we're in a room full of people watching the room, and everyone in there is laughing and having fun and throwing spoons at the screen and all this stuff, right? I'm watching Birdemic alone on a couch. And it's painful in every way. Like,
and it's streaming on Netflix for those of you that want to watch this.
Don't watch it. It is so painfully, and it's like 2 hours long. It's not some 70-minute first feature kind of thing.
Are you sure it just doesn't feel like 2 hours?
It felt like 4. Okay, I don't know. Okay, it's bad. This movie is terrible.
Well, here's the good news: they're making a sequel.
Of course they are. I mean, why not?
And I hear it's going to be in 3D.
And that's going to make it better. But no, what's great about this movie, and I don't know if he's following in the Tommy Wiseau footsteps, right? Because I don't know which one actually was made or released. Supposedly it took him 4 years to make Birdemic, which in 4 years he could have hand-drawn a better movie. You know what I mean? But supposedly it took him 4 years, and once it came out, it was kind of celebrated for being terrible. And so it had the same kind of The Room feel where people would go to a midnight showing and they'd watch a terrible movie together and blah, blah, blah.
Which is fun. It is fun in theaters.
Right. And again, I have no doubt that it is. But I think that, they're at least playing off that. I think at least the fact that the director and the makers understand, look, it's a bad movie. We get it. People want to go laugh at it. If they want to pay us, they can go laugh at our movie, right? I think there's something to be said for knowing that you have a terrible movie on your hands and playing to it, right? But it's so bad.
I think he thinks it's a good movie though.
See, and that's the thing is he's got that Tommy Wiseau thing going.
Wen is his name Wen?
Yeah, he's Vietnamese, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. And then but I was gonna say I think he intentionally tried to make like a remake of The Birds. I think it's supposed to be a remake of The Birds.
Yeah, supposedly he was inspired by The Birds and An Inconvenient Truth. Because there's all kinds of constant like environmental references throughout the film.
You mean like the hippie that lives in the tree or whatever?
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah. And then the other thing, because The Birds, okay, so we gotta kind of wrap this up here. But The Birds, the movie, The Birds, the Hitchcock movie, The Birds, I've never liked because it felt so random. Like, I don't get it. Why are the birds attacking? Like, they're just attacking and then they stop and it's over. And I don't get it. It doesn't scare me. It confuses me, right? And so if Hitchcock takes this concept and can't make it work for me, this guy didn't even come close because as I'm watching it, first off, it takes half the movie for a bird to show up. Okay, half the film is a romantic love story between these two characters, and then birds show up, and it's awful. And it's terrible. I can't stand it.
Okay, what do you give it? You can't break your rule.
I can't break my rule, right? And you give it a 3 if it's coherent and it makes sense. And I don't know if this one does because again, I can't figure out where's these birds coming from? What's going on? Like, I don't get it. I think I would probably give it the same thing I gave The Room. I'd give it a 2 because I mean, he at least can somewhat craft a scene, right? I can get it. He hops the line in almost every dialogue scene, but that's a whole nother thing. But I would. I mean,
That's
a
getting too
two.
fancy, man. It's
I
too
know, I
fancy.
know, I know. Basic cinema. It's in focus at least most of the time, but I'd give it a two, maybe a two. You can't possibly.
No, hear
Would
me out. Hear me out. I put it on my bad list, but again, is it as bad as Santa Claus?
which we gave what?
Well, we gave it a one, I think. I wanted to give it
Yeah,
a zero.
which is generous. Yeah, that's
So,
really generous.
so is Santa Claus? I would probably give this. What's bad about that? I would want to give this movie a one, but we gave Santa Claus a one, and Santa
Santa
Claus
Claus at once.
is way worse.
Yeah, it
So
is.
I'll give this like a 1.5. I mean,
Okay.
it's just stupid, but
It's such a terrible movie.
is Santa Claus still the worst movie on this list so far?
No question.
None whatsoever.
Not even a little bit. No, that's the worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay, that's
And I
gonna be
don't
our standard.
that's from now. I mean, yeah, I don't know what we're gonna see from here on out because as far as I'm concerned, that's the worst movie ever made.
Okay,
Like,
so yes, I agree. I agree so far. That was the most painful one. Which, yeah, I actually made some of my friends' family watch that over Christmas break. That was my treat. So, um,
it's
now
evil.
as far as the movie that I would take off and replace with,
Hmm.
let's see. I'm gonna say Soul Taker because
Okay.
I didn't think Soul Taker was that bad of a movie.
Yeah.
I almost would have said And Be Real because that was And Be Real and Soul Taker. I don't think deserve to be on our bottom 50.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, Soul Taker was really cheesy and corny, but it wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't anything abnormally
It was kind
bad.
of like Final Destination. I mean, it seemed kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just it never made sense to me. So that's what
Okay.
I replace it with.
Very good. Okay. So prepping for next time.
So we're gonna be starting in the next
We're 40. Yep,
test.
we're at 40. Yep,
Yeah.
40. And so the 40th best movie of all time is Taxi Driver. So keeping with our De Niro theme here, apparently.
Okay.
And the 40th worst movie of all time is The Hottie and the Naughty. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the Paris Hilton movie?
Yeah, I think it's based on. Isn't there a Shakespeare play that it's referencing? The Taming of the
That it's
Shrew.
Shakespearean in some way, but yeah, it's. I don't think you can use the word Shakespeare and Paris Hilton in the same sentence.
Oh, you just did, and I just did. So that's awesome.
So wrong. It's so wrong. Okay, so then that's what we'll look for is Taxi Driver and The Hottie and the Naughty.
And
So
hopefully we'll start getting these out more regularly. But
absolutely.
you may be married next time I see you. So
We'll get another one done before then for
okay.
sure. So,
All
all
right,
right.
man.
All right, so I'm Christopher
And I'm Charles. Have a good
and
one.
we'll see you next time.